Welcome to Masters of Influence, a premier video show where we share success journeys of leaders in their field and learn about those pivotal moments and decisions that shape their paths to prominence. I'm your host, Nancy Erickson. I work with high net worth individuals, CEOs, and business leaders, and I give them a white glove, really hands on experience to write, edit, publish, market, and distribute their books worldwide. I'm the owner of Stonebrook Publishing, an award-winning publishing house that publishes nonfiction works. Now, today, my esteemed guest is Lars Nordenlund. Did I pronounce that right,
Yeah,
Lars?
that's
Okay,
perfect.
good. So,
Thank you.
Lars is an experienced CXO leader who specializes in company building and AI-driven transformations with over 20 years in executive leadership roles. He's got a proven track record of leading strategic innovation, business architecture, and rapid corporate transformations, particularly at the intersection of technology, strategy, and innovation. Now, Lars has successfully scaled companies in Silicon Valley and globally, steering organizations through complex transitions while fostering innovative cultures. Now this is impressive, so listen up. His leadership experience spans top roles at companies like Microsoft and Canon, as well as founding and growing AI-powered ventures. Currently pursuing his passion for advising and helping leaders stay ahead of disruptive trends, build proactive teams, and turn laggards into market leaders. He's also dedicated to mentoring the next generation of business innovators. So welcome, Lars.
Thank you. Thanks.
So
Good introduction. Thank you.
as we
Appreciate
start
it.
talking, our audience is going to say, he does not sound like he grew up in Chicago. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about your growing up years. Where are you from and what was your family life like?
Yeah. Definitely got a kind of a global track record and growing up in different places. I born and raised in Denmark and just outside Copenhagen. Lived the first part of my grown-up life in the Danish culture or in the Scandinavian kind of community setup.
That's the blonde hair and all.
Right.
Yeah,
So
very
yeah,
Scandinavian
and I
features.
think that the name give it away as well. So
Of course.
and then I had the opportunity to go to London for my MBA and started my kind of international career with PricewaterhouseCoopers, and then that led me into kind of move into the US space with Microsoft. So I moved to Seattle for quite a few years and had a global role in managing the transitions for on-premise to cloud for ISVs and a lot of exciting things going on there. Then went back to Copenhagen as a SaaS NASDAQ CEO for a company that was going through that cloud transition as well. And then got the opportunity to go back into Silicon Valley and then eventually now in Southern California and doing startups and my advisory services from here.
So let's go back a few years. Tell us a little bit about your family. What was life like growing up in Denmark?
It's a great country to kind of get founded in life, and it's rated as one of the happiest nations in the
I've
world.
seen that.
Yeah. So
it's not because it's light all the time, because you get those really dark months too. And up
you
there,
got the dark months where you're kind of nesting in and doing, but that make you focus on your school and work and do
sure, yeah.
because you're not outside doing stuff. But during the summertime, you got almost like a full kind of 20 hours of lights, and it's just at the stages of the seasons is kind of super interesting. And growing up, and I think that's part of why it's maybe it's one of the happiest nations is that it's very safe. It's there's and you feel like you have all your basic needs covered in terms of job and healthcare and some of those things that kind of come with that kind of society and model of like taking care of people.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was
Yeah, I
good.
guess I hear those surveys about the happiest nations, and it's always, I just think it's interesting. You find out what is, and I'm like, okay, what is it? What is it making them
Yeah.
so fulfilled, and stuff. So you mentioned a few seats. So did you get your undergrad in Denmark and Copenhagen and then go to London?
Yes, I got a business undergrad, and then actually an additional one in London together with my MBA. But yeah, so that was my step into kind of
I'm
that
always curious
business
about
world.
people who leave their homeland and start globetrotting. So
Yeah.
what, I'm sure you could get an MBA in Copenhagen. What drew you to London?
I was yeah, so they got really good schools and highly accredited international school level schools, and but it's slightly different approach to it's very science based to even to business in some of those areas, and I wanted to do more kind of in real life prospects of getting into work with some of these interesting cases in the international and global stage, and the best way to do that would be an MBA, and London is a great place to do it in Europe.
Yeah,
So
sure.
yeah.
So then was your first job out of school with Coopers and Lybrand?
Uh,
Was there something that came first?
yeah, I actually started in advertising. So I was with Gray Advertising, kind of getting through that kind of interim introduction to the consulting world and advising in marketing, and then moved into business consulting or management consulting at a great time where PwC was merging and they were growing their strategy practice and some of those things that I was interested in kind of doing, and got the opportunity to take the lead on a practice that focused on high tech and media and entertainment. So I got to work with some of the big technology companies, especially out of Europe, and yeah, that was a great kind of trajectory and into.
So you were in the advisory side then?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. My husband's a partner at KPMG, so
okay.
They have tax, audit, advisory. So
yes.
anyway, yeah.
Yeah, and then I actually got into a partnership in a strategy consulting group in London. So I've kind of been in that Northern Europe stratosphere before moving to the US, and it seems like a long time ago, and I think it is. But
yeah. Well, I just kind of wanted to hear a little about what your origin story is.
Yeah.
Before you tell us what you do now and how you got into it, because even in, you've already mentioned we went here and I went to Seattle with Microsoft and all kinds of things. So what are you doing now?
Now I'm kind of, you can call it a CXO, meaning I get into kind of an executive level, helping especially technology companies going through transitions of strategic importance. So that means AI transformations, preparing from the one stage to kind of companies go through stages from the early startup to the scale, grow, and success. And I like to kind of help and lead companies through those stages of change, and because everything is kind of a reset when you get to the next level. And so I provide that leadership service in either a advisory, so I'm coaching CEOs, I'm getting involved in consulting projects, or as in a CXO interim, kind of getting the lead and get everything done with these companies.
I think a lot of us, I mean, obviously AI is, buzzing around and everybody's heard of it. And they think Chat GPT and stuff, and you and I talked about this earlier. I don't have the imagination to understand what AI can do. And so you're talking about companies going to the next level, whatever that is.
Yeah.
How do they even know what they can do with AI?
I think they don't. In most cases,
it's kind of like when the PC came out. I thought, what would I ever use that?
What does this mean? Yeah, and what do we do about it? So there's and that I'm working with a number of companies that kind of is in that explorative mode. Like we know that this is going to have a major impact. We know that technology is going to change a lot of the way we are thinking about our business models, our processes, and operations, and it's got a wide impact. But don't know exactly what that means in terms of, and also they know that they don't want to be left behind in the transition because they know it's going to happen. They kind of want to lead it, but don't know what to lead with. So that's why I get involved and do kind of the specific industry drivers on AI. Kind of try to do an assessment of where the major impact is going to be, where the opportunity mapping is, where can you position yourself, and where would you put. And this is a journey for these companies. I mean, we always talk.
First, you have to really understand what they do now, right?
Exactly. And
then find places that you can augment or automate, or I don't know. See, like I said, I don't even have the imagination to figure out what AI could do.
Yeah, and my point is that everybody talks about this as this is a major revolution. This is everything is going to change. But we also know from experience from the other kind of major technology waves that have been that this does take time, and it takes time. Actually, AI is not new. That started.
We just think it is, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's new because we can relate to it right now with ChatGPT and some of the kind of the things that we as in our daily lives. But it started very early on, 30s, 50s, do some major research, and then evolved into some projects. And when the processing got better, then it got more evolved. But it has evolved, and that's my point as well. That these companies is going to go now kind of into an AI journey that is more of an evolution than actually a revolution. And I believe in that because, to your point, you got to build on the company's core competency. What is it actually that we do, and what do we do better than the competition? And take that and kind of automate it and bring it into the context of how can AI help us getting better at what we are good at, or to transform into the next level of what we want to be.
So do people buy? Okay, so I'm just trying to figure, my old technology wheels are turning. I used to sell applications for Oracle, and I was a systems engineer for IBM. So I'm sitting here thinking, do they buy an AI package and then implement it like we used to do with ERP software? Or how do they start AIing themselves?
So it's not a packaged software product, except if you say, I want to use it to do kind of a customer service bot service or something that you can basically kind of replicate from one to the other. My perspective is more like AI is much bigger than what we have seen now with the ChatGPTs and the word kind of augment different things in the video space and the movies and all those areas. But AI, first of all, the question is, how can we introduce AI into your products to make them better for the customer experience? And one of the companies that I founded and started was doing cognitive awareness for crowds. So using AI to understand what's the behaviors of crowds, what's going to happen.
More about that, because I think that's so fascinating. Because there was there's an ignition point that you are trying to avoid with crowds, right?
Yeah. So now you can see the behaviors of crowds. Like, is this leading up to a potential riot, or is this going to be a critical risk situation? And the thing is that AI, like the neural networks that you have kind of in your brain, can put context into situational. So that's the next level from software that says if A and B and then C, which is a relative kind of process. This is context. Say, okay, I haven't seen this situation before, but it seems like a lot of people are gathering, and this is what happens usually when people are raising their arms or raising their voices, and then so be aware that this is going to happen next. So just an example of how AI can be part of what you do and actually do it better because it can put everything into context.
So what's the initial intelligence that you would populate into it, like this crowd situation? I mean, do you put video in and show it? It's just like, I'm really curious about the whole provenance of it.
Right. So, and so there are different layers. So with AI, it's just like you're starting very kind of basic, like it's training a monkey, and then you get into kind of okay, here's a small toddler, and then you train. So you kind of learn over time. This machine is going to learn the context of what you try to tell this.
Okay.
So you start to put in kind of and tell the learning model that, well, there's certain scenarios that we have seen before, like a shooting incident down at the school, that this happened. And that is when this and this and then that. So you learn the system to recognize certain critical situations, and then you put on top of that and say, and then I want to know if something unusual happens in front of the school. We see the cars coming up every morning at a certain time, and but I usually don't see 3 people coming in at this time with some odd situations. So then you report back and say, I see a different situation here. How should I think about this? And then we say, no, that's okay, because that's the gardeners, and that's just fine. So you kind of train the model over time. But you also train it to look for things that is critical and unusual.
Sounds like it is recognizing patterns that we don't see when we're in the situation ourselves.
Totally. And
so is it mainly pattern recognition then?
Exactly. It's pattern recognition, and you use video, computer vision, and sound, and different. And that means you can have an eye and ear on a certain space at any time. And of course, that trains and learns every day, every second. And then when these situations happens, you can say, okay, this is something different. You want to look at this.
Well, I could see how that would be really helpful in school situations, which we know is out of control and absolutely unacceptable, but in other law enforcement situations as well.
Yeah.
As well as, like, I'm even thinking concerts, and other gatherings and stuff. It's crowd behavior is not like individual human behavior at all.
No,
it's different. It's infectious.
And there's a dynamic to it, and that's where the context is important, right? Why are these people and crowds reacting the way they do?
Like, why are they jumping up and
exactly?
Well, they're at a concert. They're dancing. They're
exactly.
Not, they're not is it out of Berlin
or is it out of excitement, right? So again, that learning over time just makes much more refined kind of outputs, and now you have automated what people in the context of guards and other people observing. And now you're connecting all these neural networks in the guards, which you can't into one, but the AI can do that. So that's just one example of how we go kind of about to kind of figuring out, so what's going to be the AI journey for each of the companies? How do you introduce it on multiple levels, both on a product level, but also on a process and customer experience level? How do we make use of AI to make it a better experience, the way you reach out to more specific customer segments with something that is relevant for them? How do we make the first contact and the initial engagement and get them into the transition to purchase and success? And it's AI is a kind of a massive involvement on a holistic perspective on any company. So that's the process. So figuring out what's the actual impact spaces, what's the opportunities, and how do we set this up for kind of a strategy where you lay this out in stages and not try to do everything at once and try to change everybody.
Like
But
any other implementation. And I imagine that it's now a new focus forever, to always be updating and growing with the opportunities.
Yes.
Yeah. So when I think of retail, I think of Amazon. And is this what they've been doing all along? If you bought this, then you'd like this. Is that AI stuff, or is that just database retrieval?
That is mostly database, but now obviously that's going to be introduced to the neural networks as well.
And some consumers don't like that. They don't like to be known by the retailer that they're shopping at. So there's invariably going to end up being some questions of privacy and such. But another issue. I like what you were saying about pattern recognition, because I know that I have kids who are physicians, and diagnostics is they're very well learned in their specialty. In medical school they have to know it all, but then they specialize. I was thinking that seems like that would be a really good application of AI, because there's some figuring out symptoms and weird stuff can happen that's not textbook. So I think we're going to see it really hopefully change the outcomes, in medical care as well. So
AI is going to have a massive impact on healthcare because, again, AI can look for patterns and it can process. The magic is that AI can process a massive amount of information in no time and put it into context. Like say, and now you can go through thousands of research papers, documented like results of if this is a symptom, this is kind of most likely what the diagnostic is going to be, and here's what effectively cured that situation. So you can process that where like within seconds and minutes, instead of if you have to do your manual research and go through all the papers and all the experience that you have had or seen worldwide, and that's when you get access to the information. So for me the key is that AI got context. That's the difference from all kinds of, because you've always been able to process kind of a lot of
database retrieval stuff that has no context.
Exactly. Because, and that's an input-output situation. This is like, oh, okay, so you want to have this in the context of South Africa specifically. Okay, now you get that. So,
That's so cool. So where do you like to come in and work with clients? Like, do you work with certain industries, or is it a certain stage of growth that your clients are in? What's your sweet spot?
My sweet spot is in the scale growth, kind of the pre-IPO and the enterprise innovative reinvention, you could say, where companies have kind of been in a market leadership situation for some years, and they're kind of losing that position to new incomers, and that is more innovative and more agile, and then have to reinvent. That's one of the things that I enjoy doing with especially Canon, that was in a traditional hardware printer scanner market and wanted to convert into a new cloud-based solutions and video surveillance and other areas. And like, how do we do that? How do we build a innovative culture? How do we make processes that kind of where we can structure a kind of reinvention? So it's helping companies getting ready for the big IPO or the big success kind of a market leadership position, grow them strategically into that. And then it's okay, if we kind of are over the top with what we did, how do we get the next wave started?
Yeah, it's just it's just things are moving so fast. It can be really exhausting to business owners. It's like, I know I'm behind, but I don't know why.
Exactly.
I mean, mid-size and big businesses, especially, that aren't very nimble. That they can't make quick decisions and stuff. But have
Yes.
you ever do you work at all like with turnaround situations, Lars?
Yes. So I've
Oh,
done turnarounds as well, because that's where if you don't do things in due time, then you get into kind of a situation where you have to manage the decline and the turnaround and try to kind of turn it back on. And so that's what I have done for a couple of companies, and that's obviously a different process because it's not growth and expansion focused. It's
sure.
like, how do we get to the core of your business? How do
Yeah.
we get to what actually is profitable? And how do we divest or focus in on the things that can kind of save you as a company, but also obviously turn around into kind of a new perspective. And obviously there's a lot of organizational change involved, strategic change, new strategies, divestment, but also M&A, because now you want to think about, is there other partnerships or the companies out there where we would have a match that could kind of, if we bring this together and we can bring a new dynamics. So
yeah, which those are very complicated too. So
yeah.
well, do you I'm just considering how, when you're working with a company, it's sometimes really hard to get buy-in with all the stakeholders. And
Yeah.
how do you overcome the resistance to some of the changes that you're suggesting?
Yeah. So I definitely see that the companies that I have been leading myself and been working with, that there are kind of two challenges mostly in the strategic management process. One is, what do we do? Where we go from here? And I got a lot of information that is unstructured. How do we structure that into actually being able to make some decisions? Okay. So and so if we go through that process and say, okay, now we got that. Now we know where to go. Then the second is to get people involved and engaged to actually step in behind the strategy and execute and be part of that change. And that is and all people by nature, most people, is reluctant
Oh,
reluctant to change.
yeah.
They want to see the reason. So what's the purpose? So you have to reintroduce a new kind of vision or
Socialize
mission, or
things,
say,
right.
okay, now I get it, because then people can rationalize why they need to change. So
Well, it's
that's,
kind of an interesting balance because we have to progress in order to stay competitive and to keep doing what we're doing. But
yeah,
also, there's this huge emphasis on employee engagement and
yes,
satisfaction and all. And some of
yes,
these things could make their jobs go away. So
yes,
it's a delicate balance, I'm sure.
yes. So the first part is to kind of get alignment through a strong mission and vision that they can relate to and say, yeah, I understand why we need to change, and why, if we continue in that direction, that's not going to be optimal for me as a person in this organization or the company. And then then secondly, you have to manage or impact the insecurity, because if you don't know what this change actually means, and so now and you're kind of interrupting your daily process and what you had seen maybe as your career projection into the next level. I see where this is going, and now suddenly there's like half of that kind of picture is kind of faded. So now you have to build back that kind of confidence in what we're doing is going to give you opportunities and security for people. And that's, I think, very much back to our very early conversation on this call about, like, what is it that make you a happy, satisfied customer?
Yeah.
And so that is like, I feel secure. I feel like I'm in something that, with a purpose and a mission, I can see where I'm going, and I want to put my effort into it because I can relate to it.
Yeah.
So,
So who within the organization needs to lead this charge? Is this the CEO that
yeah,
is? Yeah. Yeah.
I
Because I
think it's very top leadership driven. You can't expect, especially if you have multiple different business units or market kind of leaders, that that should be a coordinated effort, and that's a leadership task for sure.
Yeah. How do they know when they're at the point where they want this kind of outside, input and help? How do they know they need you, Lars?
Usually they have tried stuff in kind of leading up that was not working.
Such as
So,
what? Like what kind of things might they have tried?
That's all kind of depends on
Depending on what their business is. Yeah.
like what's the situation like. Are we getting beaten up by competition? Are we doing a lot of work and processing and treadmill kind of activities, but no output? Like, are we going nowhere? Is our revenue not going up, but we have a lot of investments coming in? So it all depends on what's the situation, what's the actual challenge. But usually these companies
do they always know what that challenge is? Or do they just know this hurts right here?
Yeah,
and I can figure it out.
And at the bottom of all this, it's always the financials, right? That's where you read the outputs.
Yep.
Am I growing? Am I report to NASDAQ growth or decline, or is this a profitable business and can we actually make money? And so that's the heartbeat of the company, and everything leads back from there. Then they try to do the reasoning. So why are we losing revenue? Why are we losing market share? Why are we actually growing the company but can't make a profit? And that's where they know that something is broken in that kind of system, but they might not know exactly where that is. And that's where they try to, to involve themselves in those situations, but it's very different to do a deep strategic self-assessment.
Oh, you can't do it yourself. You can't. You just
exactly
too many blind spots.
And that's where kind of a new perspective coming in and say, okay, and I've seen this from other companies in your industry, put in some benchmarks into the context and discuss the drivers that is impacting their business, because they're mainly focused on operations, because that's what they do.
Right.
And again, because they're trying to do better on what they do, but they might do the wrong things. So so that's where you come in and basically have that kind of deeper analysis of what the root cause of the issues and what's the potential impact that we can do to change it.
So when you're working with other kinds of companies who want to do an IPO, obviously their business needs to be in the shape that it can garner the greatest value at that point in time, right? When it goes public.
Yes.
So that's probably a totally different effort on your part.
Yes,
Or not.
I think that is different. And again, I'm talking about the transitions that companies go through from the early incubation to the early startup, where they get the first A round and get some funding to support their growth into success, and then the IPO. And it's all different situations, but they're different criteria from a business perspective that you need to kind of be able to prove that you can do and deliver on.
Right.
It's different. So if you're looking to get your A round and then I got to prove traction with customers, and I got to prove my growth rate, and I got to prove that my business actually scales, and it's not like a one-off thing. When you get to the IPO space, you got to hit a certain kind of number of, in terms of size, presence, market position, like 100 million in revenue or whatever that is in their industry. So you've got to try to figure out what's the gap solution to where the company's at, where you want to be, and usually, and some of the companies that I specifically have been working with over a longer period of time they were not exactly meeting the growth targets for an IPO. They were not exactly meeting the volume in the international global sales, and they had some issues on the inside and the way they were structured that was kind of hindering them in scaling the business.
So you're able to identify that,
yeah, and go through a restructuring of the company into business units or matrix systems or optimizing and get rid of the business that is dragging us and not living up to the overall purpose, which is we got to be IPO ready.
Yep. So how much value, like in an IPO situation, does the company's AI strategy fold into that? Or does it? Because I think nowadays it would.
Yes. So markets are rewarding growth and potential over time. And right now, all the market analysts are looking for where do we see companies that is adapting AI in a way that can help them grow and expand to be the next leader in their potential space. And one example is NVIDIA. They have been able to kind of take over the processing kind of for AI.
In developing video, are you talking like gaming or what in video?
For building systems that can process AI. So
okay.
now,
Okay.
right? So again, they're looking for prospects that they can invest in that have that edge to the next generation of growth. And it is 10x valuation on growth versus like, okay, I made a good quarter of profits. Okay, less interested. So
I would think that if you did not have some sort of an AI strategy, it would be a black mark against you.
That
means that you're not leading edge, right? You're not up on things. So anyway,
yes, because obviously the analysts that do the valuations and then eventually when they launch into the to the Nasdaq or other Standard & Poor's, and that's they're looking for somebody that actually can deliver on a AI strategy right now. Maybe not at huge scale, but at least they have something that they can bring into the vision of where they want to bring the company over time, and they can relate to that. And that's going to be the first analyst question. So what are you doing? And if I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure AI is going to. Okay, so.
It's like you're already yesterday then, right?
That's a tough sell.
So how long have you been doing this, Lars? Like you're just business executive advising in this whole, strategy.
Yeah, I've been doing this all my career pretty much, starting with the PricewaterhouseCoopers. That was kind of full-time management consulting, but I've done advisory for 10 years on boards and different engagement, and now I'm kind of doing that more. I still have another kind of exciting AI company that I'm growing and expanding in sports and AI tech, and
sounds like the prospects are endless, right?
I think that's so true, and it's a matter of picking the right kind of lever and go with it.
Yeah. So invariably, those of us who've been in business for a number of years have reached some pivotal moments where things could have gone in the wrong direction. Have you had any moments like that?
Where it could have, but it didn't.
Or maybe it did. We've had moments like that too, or at least I have.
Yeah, I think in terms of the companies that I've been working with, that, and I think you had that up earlier as well, that where companies, I get it, I see this, I agree, but are resistant to actually make the change because it involves some kind of a risk in, we're going to reinvest in new innovation or doing new markets or other areas, and where they don't do that. That's where I see, and I feel that's a shame, because we knew it, we could see it, we assessed it, we just didn't do it.
Yeah, that hurts,
Yeah, because you're afraid that you're gonna, and there obviously in any kind of business, and especially when you make a change, there's a risk involved. So you gotta mitigate risk, you gotta manage the risk reward kind of implications, and not, to my earlier point, try to risk everything on major revolution and
Right.
then
And,
end up with nothing.
instead, you want to have steps, right? Have
Yeah,
logical.
but you cannot not move. Like you
Right.
gotta you
Yeah.
gotta be progressive in terms of
Well, I
how
have to
you
tell you,
evolve.
I have a little bit of a like scenario. And some of my clients say, no, about not finishing, about not
Yeah,
finishing. I
yeah.
have had, I think, 2 clients who we have gone through and we have written their entire book
Yeah.
and they didn't publish it.
Right.
I'm like, come
Exactly.
on, we're 2/3 of the way through. We're not finished. And it's not just their effort and their energy and the emotion that goes into it. It's the fact that we work with people whose stories and experience can change things for others. So I feel that loss of, we got this far, but you got to pull the trigger,
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to.
And we went through the process, all the stages. We agreed that this is great content, and we got something here that really relates to.
And then fear struck.
Exactly.
Yep.
Then you get kind of, fear strikes. That's absolutely.
Yeah, and that's probably our greatest enemy in any venture is fear, and sometimes it's just, just have fun doing it, don't, you just keep going. Like Winston Churchill says, if you're going through hell, keep going.
Keep going, exactly.
Don't stop there.
No reason to stop right now because this is hell.
Well, Lars, how would you say you're using your influence to impact the world?
I try to make great companies that relates to, and I'm very much involved in, like I said earlier, having a mission with purpose. So how does this relate to like the ESG principles and the impact on the environment if you're in manufacturing operations?
Right.
How can this help customers and people getting a better experience and get over some really critical, and we talked about healthcare. If the purpose is to kind of do better diagnostics and get better treatments, and so I try to insert kind of that way of thinking.
Sure.
Like a mission with a purpose is what I call it, and that's can be all kinds of different things, but it also make people relate to it. It creates followers, and that means you have a better opportunity to actually change something to the better.
Well, like we said in the beginning, talking about that happiness factor, if we as human beings aren't growing and expanding and learning, we aren't happy. We can't find not that you can't ever be satisfied, but we are meant to expand and learn and grow always.
And do better.
Yeah, and it's fun, and it's there's when you get that deep level of satisfaction at something you've created or changed or made better for other people, there's just nothing like that. It's just, you can't, it's just fabulous.
And that's a fascinating thing about the human race. Like they didn't stop after they invented the kind of making fire and do the
wheel.
Like, right? We keep going. We keep because
otherwise we wouldn't have SpaceX, right?
Exactly. Because we want to make, so innovation comes in from necessity or vision. So and necessity means,
and from curiosity. We're
curiosity,
curious.
and
because
what if I could solve a problem that is kind of evident for my daily life in doing things better and to do things different? Then you start to innovate, and wouldn't it be cool if we could get people to Mars and actually go back and that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah,
but,
it's a different conversation. But it is about innovation. It's about change. It's about being open to opportunities, and it's about being creative.
Yes.
So
and embrace the change in terms of this is going to be to the better if we do it right, and we don't risk everything we have in order to get to kind of the next stage.
Well, to wrap it up, I want to ask you a few rapid fire questions to help the audience get to know you in a different way. So are you ready?
Okay. Yeah, I'm ready.
Cat or dog?
Dog.
Dog. Okay. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Oh, we got you on the coffee side over here in America. Okay. Summer or winter?
Oh, I'm a big skier and I'm a big golfer, so I don't know, but I definitely have a winter kind of
Do you
passion.
prefer those long winters or the shorter ones we have in
No,
the state?
yeah, no, I prefer lights.
Oh, yeah. So Netflix or movie theater?
Uh, watch a lot of Netflix, I have to admit.
Yep. It's
Yeah,
nice to be at home. Yeah.
yeah.
Window or aisle seat?
Oh, definitely I am.
Okay. So are you a morning?
I'm not built for the mid seat
Yeah.
or the,
Yeah.
I'm 6'6", so
Oh
that's
my gosh. That doesn't come through on video.
not exactly. I know. Everybody's kind of equal when they sit down, but
Oh, yeah,
so
you need the aisle. You need the
I
bulkhead.
appreciate my space.
Yeah. So morning person or night owl?
I'm both.
Both? You both
Yes.
ends of the stick, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we've heard a lot about your capabilities and all. What is something that you cannot do?
um,
Can I tell you what the most often answered it is?
give me some options. Yeah.
Give you some options because you're good at everything.
I can right now. If I put my head to it, I would probably.
You know what? I people most often answer that they can't sing. So I thought, well,
I'm gonna take that.
okay.
Absolutely. I learned that very early on in school, and I tried, and I thought actually I was pretty good at it. Yeah, that's not you. Okay.
I tease my husband because he has one note. So
I don't even know if I have a note.
okay. Okay. Well, Lars, thank you so much. You mainly just fueled my curiosity and let me ask all the questions that I want to know about. Where can our audience find out more if they want to connect and learn more about you?
Yeah, so definitely check out my website at nordenlund.com. So
Okay,
actually my
northerland.com.
name.
I'll put that in the show notes. So yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously I'm on LinkedIn as well.
And on
So
LinkedIn. Great. Well, I
yeah.
appreciate your time. And thank you to the audience for tuning in today. If you or someone you know wants to write a book, that's my area of expertise that I'm a real hand holder. All you have to have is an idea to get started, and you can find my contact in my LinkedIn profile as well. So this has been Masters of Influence.